most effective characteristics of a youth baseball coach. I think first and foremost, when you raise your hand, decide you want to volunteer or be a head coach or an assistant coach, I think setting the expectation and creating the culture and environment with the players, no matter what age they are, and then if you're in youth sports and even in high school, the parents as well. I think that's the environment that you're creating is huge, because I think with coaching, you may have kids who've never met you before, and so building and developing that trust right away is really important, because maybe you're 12 years old and you're coaching and you have some new kids. Well, for the last 7 years, these kids have been coached a certain way, and the reality is as you're coaching, and every coach kind of has a little different way to teach the fundamentals, and so now you're going to be saying something that's a little different than your past coach, or maybe even different than dad. And so building that trust right away, and there's a lot of ways to do it, and I know, again, when you go on to the website, there's a lot of great stories from a lot of great coaches on what are great ways to develop that trust right away, because the sooner you can build that trust with your players, the easier it's going to be as now you're bringing them in and, all right, guys, let's talk about hitting. And maybe you have this system or this way that may be a little different, but either way, you want all your team on board and following it as you're practicing and doing the drills, and then you want them developing. So I think first and foremost, I think that's one of the biggest things when you think about creating that development environment, that nurturing environment, and getting the trust of your players, and then even more so the parents who I'm always engaging in this process. And what is this process? It might be, the kids raising their hand and saying, I want to be a Major League Baseball player. I know every week at camp, that's the first question I ask when the whole group's together on Monday morning is, who wants to be a Major League Baseball player when they grow up? And we get 80 hands go up, which is great. That's a goal. And so a lot of hard work, is going to be involved in reaching and accomplishing that goal. And so, now we turn our attention to that process, all right? These next 5 days in camp, we're going to give you a process in how to get better as a hitter, how to get better as a fielder, throwing. And so with a coach, you might have 1 or 2 days a week where you're spending with them, but mom and dad, you're spending every day with them. So I think as much as you can involve the parent in that process and build their trust of, hey, I'm coach, they're entrusting you to develop this, their kid in whatever sport it is. So I think spending a lot of time on that step, which I think the reality is that is an art. And if you haven't had the experience, or if you're not making that a point and you kind of brush over that, and now you don't have a parent meeting, or you don't kind of set those expectation levels of from the players and the parents, and now you're just going along and having practices, and now when you want to implement different things and you're saying, all right, here's what we're doing, and they don't really know the why, and now they're a little hesitant because everything's a little different, and that's not how this coach did it, or that's not what I believe in, then that makes it really challenging for the coach, and then ultimately not a great environment to develop and get better. So I think that would be the biggest thing. And again, the great part about I know if I got that question from a parent in camp and I'm going to steer them right to where there's good information and resources. Again, positivecoach.org is an awesome place, because no doubt they're you'll get a lot of information and resources on parent letters and different things that right away, before you even have a practice or a game, that you can do to already create this great environment.